Okay, let's call this meeting to order. First up, acceptance of Paul's minutes from last month. Are there any questions, concerns?
Looked okay to me.
All right. Next is treasurer's report. Dave Morley.
Do we get a motion and a second?
Yeah, I move we accept the minutes.
I second it. So
All in favor, raise your hand. Now we're ready for.
All right, I came within 1 day of not having any input for the treasurer's report, but then we got a deposit of $11.88 from Benevity. So otherwise, I was going to put out a no comment for the treasurer's report. Anyway, that's the activity from last board meeting, $11.88.
Just the last board meeting, which was after the show.
That's correct.
Yeah.
What was that for?
Benevity is we get donations from Facebook or Google. We don't know what they're from. All it is a donation, a deposit from Benevity.
Oh, I just didn't hear the word Benevity.
Okay. Any questions about the finances?
Not included is the budget. So I think I've gotten input from Dave, but prior to our January board meeting, I will prepare a budget for 2023 to be discussed at the board meeting. So anybody who has any input as far as budget goes, otherwise I'm going to do it myself.
I just mainly want to make the comment that we should think about uniforms in the old-fashioned way again at some point. So old-fashioned way, I mean having the chapter own uniforms so we have extras we can sell to new members and take back the ones when people leave and all of that kind of thing. If we're going to go with any kind of formal uniform that we use for multiple contests and shows in the future ever again.
Okay.
The one issue with that, Mark, is that you need a uniform chairman to purchase everything, of course, and then to maintain an inventory. It is not. It has been nice where you just give a website a link to new members and they go out and buy their own. And the other issue with that is if we buy extra, who knows what size that we're going to need. So
okay, those are good arguments. So maybe we have improved way of doing it now.
yeah, I kind of like the idea that we've been doing the last couple of years, but you're right. It does mean that somebody has to go out and order their own, but they also have their own size. So hopefully.
Are other people having sound issues?
A little bit. It depends. I think Dave Morley's coming through his speakers, through his laptop, and not a headset.
There.
So
That'll be better, I think. I forgot to open the door.
Dave, I have a question for you. What do I see our budget on dues is 2,400. We've got a little over 2,000 in. I know that I got my notice from the society like a few weeks back saying, hey, it's time to pay and renew, which I haven't done yet. I was going to do sometime in December, now that here we are in this month. But is there any way of determining whether or not, or what percentage of our members have done their dues for this calendar year? Do we have any way of knowing that?
The only number I've got is we've got about $2,000 in actual income, and we budgeted 2,400.
Right, but so that doesn't give us any sense of how many of the people have done it. Right. Okay.
Well, everybody that sings should be a member, which means that they all pay dues chapter.
I understand that. What I'm saying is I just got my notification to pay my dues, which means that I may not yet be counted in the $22,056. And am I the only person like that?
No,
Or
I'm
what-
like that. Maybe
you
we need someone other than Dave to call the society headquarters and ask them for
Well,
the
wouldn't-
status of that.
Wouldn't
I-
Paul know? He gets the renewals.
I can tell you, in fact, on the last treasurer's report, it showed the names of the people who had paid. And I do show that on the treasurer's report. Not on, but on the last month. And I can get a spreadsheet of who paid, but if you don't pay this year, we'll get your money next year.
Yeah, I was just curious to see if it's just a question of there are several, we might make the 2,400 only because we haven't all.
No,
paid-
no, we won't,
Okay.
because I don't expect another payment from the society.
Oh, okay.
John, you had a question?
So yeah, so this is a question of accrual accounting versus cash accounting and dates, that you're taking into account. I'm in the same boat. I renew in December, and so it's going to happen. So and Mark Torrance is the same way. So I know what your question is, Dave. But if we take a look at the prior month, if we take a look at December last year, we should get a sense of that.
Okay.
So
Okay, thank you.
Dave Morley, I'll comment. I think there is an echo through either you or Dana. And so just mute when you guys are not talking, please.
Elliot?
Would it be at all helpful for me to go through the latest VHS roster and see if there are any people who are inactive who should be active, or would we be aware of that through whatever accounting we were doing?
I think that's a good idea, just to check. I mean, I wouldn't expect there's a problem, but it's possible that someone who we're used to seeing on the risers told the society to cancel them and never told us. I think it'd be unlikely.
Mhm. Okay, I'll take a look. I used to do it routinely, but since they've updated now you have to download a spreadsheet that only gets released once a month. It's really awful. Because I used to spot people that were, sort of past due and had another month, and I'd send them warnings and things like that. But I haven't been doing that lately. Anyway, I'll take a look.
Any other finance questions? Okay, moving on.
Just
Larry,
one thing. Dave, are we anticipating any additional expenses in the month of December?
I have not received the bill from Curtis for it, and I would really appreciate that, Curtis, before December 31st, so I can pay you this year.
Okay, so other than that, that's pretty much it?
That's the only one I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, do you have anything to report for technology?
Just a couple things. Heard from one of our guys yesterday regarding the weekly emails that I send out with our Zoom link for rehearsal. He had deleted it and couldn't find it. He intended to show up on Zoom but couldn't figure out how to find us. So he suggested that I add a quick link to Groupanizer, which I did. So since this is a recurring invitation, there is now in Groupanizer under quick links a link that will get whoever directly to our rehearsal Zooms. The only other thing I'm playing with nowadays is different positions of camera and microphones for both. Well, not so much for Zoom, but for our weekly recordings. I'm trying to capture different angles and different sounds. You guys probably don't listen to the videos with headphones on, but when I have the camera, like Thursday night off on the baritone side of the house, you hear baritone more than anybody else. So I'm playing with that. Yeah, you guys sounded pretty good, Dave.
The answer to the prayers that you made through the year.
no. So that's about it. Just playing with resolutions and other things on my camera, because we have had I've run across some issues with it, like not capturing us on stage because the lights are too bright. So technical stuff that I'm just playing with. Nothing pressing, nothing to worry about. That's it. Question
about Zoom. So normally I track attendance of people who are there in person and on Zoom. And more recently, without the big screen, it's become very difficult for me to track who's on Zoom. I kind of have to run off the risers, rush up to the laptop and take account, and people come in and out. I'm just wondering is there any way that it gets captured who came
Yes.
on?
Yes. Eliminating the screen is just one of the steps to my trying to save time and effort. But when I'm doing editing, Elliot, I write down the numbers of in-persons and Zoom. So what I'll do going forward, if it'll make it easier for you, I'll just make a note in that email of how many guys were on Zoom and how many guys were in person.
Or actually, if under separate cover, you could send me the names of people who were there on Zoom. Because, I track it on a per person basis.
I'll see what I can do. I don't necessarily keep track of who it is. I just keep track of how many windows I see.
Okay. If we can't, we can't. I don't want to ask you to start putting up the screen again for that
No,
reason.
I'm not gonna do that. We have 4 guys on Thursday.
No, that's cool.
Elliot, if you're looking at the screen right now, you see the names of the people who are there.
Yep.
If Larry were just to take a screenshot and send you the screenshot, you could see the names yourself, right?
Well,
No, because the screenshot would only work if I do it right then and there.
It's only when you're mousing over that you see the names. A screenshot might do it, but it's a dynamic thing, right? People are coming and going.
Yeah. All right.
If we can't do it, we can't do it. It's
All right.
We'll figure something out. We'll figure something out, Elliot. Thank you for mentioning that.
Sure.
And that's all I got.
Thanks, Larry. Marketing report, Mark.
Yeah, I did not do much and did not send a report this month. I did talk to Larry about updating the website, and we'll get a photo from him to replace the one on the homepage, or let him just do it. Because I think that would be good to get our pirate set out there in more visible. And I just made an update to let people know about Mountain View, and I'm interested to see if we're going to perform tonight, given the weather. So I guess
I'll put up the photo today, Mark.
That's great. Thank you, Larry.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Elliot, chapter development.
You're on mute, Elliot.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't have very much to report for these past couple of rehearsals, other than in general, it's been kind of erratic. So, we had a really nice turnout on the last rehearsal before Thanksgiving, like 35 people, and then it went down to 26 last week. There are a lot of people that we know would have been there and were out for one reason or another. So I'm hoping in the new year we start getting a little more stability in the numbers, but I don't really have very much to report.
All right, thanks, Elliot. John, do you have any?
I wonder if there's anything we can do. I know I raised this maybe at the wrong time in the meeting last month about the approach that I've learned that Fog City takes to asking men to make a commitment for a particular season, a particular project, like a few months leading up to a certain event. And I wonder if there might be something along those lines that we could do. And also maybe we could do a survey to see what kinds of events we should plan during the year that would make guys more likely to come every week and rehearse, feeling like they're working towards some particular thing. I am a little worried about our plan to maybe have fewer major events next year, and that the effect that that might have on regular chorus attendance at rehearsals.
Good point.
It sounds like a good item for some meeting at some point.
I have a question, I have a
Okay.
question for Elliot, and that is, are there any candidates at the moment who have not done their audition, or who have not yet either passed it or
Yes.
whatever?
Yes, there are two. So Wilson is working on it. He gave it a shot. Not the last rehearsal, but the one before. And I'm sure he's going to do it. He just needs to work a bit more on his tune. And Randy, I'm working on Randy.
Randy, okay,
Yeah, he'd like to do it. He just
Got it.
hasn't stepped up yet.
okay, thank you.
Who's Randy?
Randy Welch. He's normally around the center of the risers,
He's
usually
the lead, right?
left. Yeah, he's the lead.
Hey, Elliot, what about Liam Gong? You said he disappears every once in a while, or what?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So nominally up front, Liam has told me he can only attend every second rehearsal, and that has been discussed with him, and he has normally kept up. I think the combination of that kind of 50-50 frequency with the hit or miss of holidays and things has made it look a little worse more recently. But he is on my mind, and I want to see how things go as we get back into kind of regular times.
The reason I asked is because I have his badge.
Oh, it'd be nice if he.
I was just wondering about it.
Yeah, I can shoot him an email, see what's going on.
All right.
My concern with the hit or miss is that as long as he's still working his music at home, he'll be fine. But because of his hit or miss, I try to keep him close to me so I can hear what he's doing. Because I know I wasn't present for his audition, but did feel like he was getting there. Maybe not quite ready to pass an audition, but he was passed. I wasn't there, so I don't know how or why, but that concerns me that if he can't come every week, especially for coming into a show or something. And I'm doing this with a couple other guys too. One of the guys is here. You can see him. Hi, Dave. I'm keeping Dave close to me so I can hear him and give him little tips here and there as needed. So just so you guys know, your section lead is trying to do stuff for the section whenever I can without disrupting our directors.
Okay, well, no, so that's good to know. And so if you can give me any feedback, for now, I'm going to be relatively generic and just focus on the fact that there's a badge waiting for him. We haven't seen him for a while, and kind of check in on how he's doing and whether he's kind of keeping up. Although, the focus recently has been the holiday music.
Yeah.
But okay, thanks.
All right. John, you have anything for us?
No, not really. So the Mountain View is on. Dave Cokerhook is communicated. Hopefully, you've gotten some of the communications. So the tree lighting in Mountain View is on. It depends, obviously on the weather. As we were finding out that we actually do get rain in December, which is a new phenomenon in my book. So. And the other thing is that the Vocal Capital is doing a performance for the kids at the Elks Club, so that should help satisfy in terms of programming. But those are the only two things I think that are in December.
Except yes, I'll have the farmers market.
Right, we have the farmers market as
next
well.
week, which hopefully it won't rain out there either.
Right.
Is that Elks gig just going to be Vocal Capital?
Well, there are only 3 people, I think, that had responded to the thing of availability, and I found out that the rest of the guys could do it. So we just said we'll send the quartet.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Dave.
Yep.
All right, music VP, Dave K.
I don't know, I sent the report out a few days ago, not a whole heck of a lot since the last meeting, last board meeting. The focus has been on the holiday music. And I think that and I wasn't at the last rehearsal, but what I've seen for the songs that we have identified as focus songs for the chorus, they have been improving with each pass. And so I thought that was pretty good. The other thing that's in the thing which we can discuss, well, actually, this is an FYI, has to do with next year being the 75th anniversary. Mike and Curtis have spoken with Sean Abel and Steve Salmons, and about the possibility that when we do our 75th big thing next fall, would they be interested in directing a song? Okay, so that we'll get some of our past directors involved. And then Bert had sent me a message, and I passed it on to Curtis and Mike about, what was the guy's name? Who was the director when the Peninsulaires did?
John Williams.
Yes, yeah, John Williams. And apparently he's still alive and kicking somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know how. I did get an email address for him. I think I passed that along to the guys. So who knows? If we have guest directors for a particular song, that could be kind of exciting. And we'll know more over the next couple of weeks. I'm meeting with Mike and Curtis face to face, just the 3 of us. Well, Mike and I and Curtis and I, and then Mike and Curtis and I, we're going to get together over the next few weeks to go over a bunch of stuff. And so at the January meeting, we'll have probably more perspective on what 2023 and beyond look like. But that's that. And so there isn't a whole heck of a lot else to report, since it was sort of a short month.
What was it, your report where you were bringing up the possibility of hosting the convention instead
I
of
did
having a spin show?
mention in there that we are asking the board to consider that, and I asked Dana to put it on the agenda, so we'll talk about it to see whether or not it makes any sense for us to consider that possibility. But yes, that was in my report. Thank you. And that's all I got.
Any questions for Dave?
Just one comment. I think is it Bruce, the new guy from the East Coast that's singing tenor now? Yeah.
Yes.
He mentioned that at least one song that we named, although I don't think we sang it, a holiday song, was missing from the book. So I would just say, I think that if we have a list of repertoire, just let's double check
from the actual hard copy book.
He didn't have, yeah, I don't know if it's a song that's not in Yuletide Favorites 1, because he has all those memorized.
Oh, okay.
I think it might be a Yuletide Favorite song that someone named as a possible song for us to add on as a song.
Oh, I see. That was possibly the la da 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 da, whatever that one.
I'm not getting it from that, Dave, but okay.
Yeah, it's Need a Little Christmas. It might have been Need a Little Christmas.
No, that's a good one.
I don't know.
If we want to add that in.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Dave. That concludes our reports. Do I hear a motion?
Dana, I said the book. I meant the website. He was talking about what's available to download on Groupanizer.
Oh, to download from Groupanizer. Oh, okay. Okay. Got it.
Anything else? All right. Do I hear a motion to accept the reports?
So moved. Oh.
Second.
Third, fourth.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Hey, I get hands going up, and I don't know who.
Pick one.
Okay.
Dave moved and I seconded, I think, Paul.
Does this help, Paul?
No, Larry, it should be like this. I think.
Okay. Great. Well, old business, the only thing I recall that we didn't really cover was this auxiliary team formation. And who brought that up last time?
It was, I don't know, was it Mark? Somebody.
I think I suggested originally, some other people re-suggested it, but yeah. I mean, I think maybe we could just do some kind of a poll and ask guys to invite their spouses, or do we want to talk about like what we would do for them? I think that topic started to come up last time of whether we should have t-shirts or expectations or whatever.
Yeah, well, we already have a core team in Fanny, Barbara, and Melinda for the auction. And Melinda's excited about participating in that, and maybe she can make a proposal
That would be great.
I
to
think,
add other folks.
I think, Dana, from what you just identified, the something that might be helpful in this, in moving this concept forward, is identifying areas of activity. We've got three
Yes.
women who are interested in participating and facilitating the silent auction. Is there something else that might be relevant? Is there a team of people that, kind of like Peninsulaires did years ago, that handled all the food activities at any event? Okay. Is there somebody that might, you know, a team that might want to be the uniform team, you know, like along the lines of what Mark was talking about? So if maybe it's a question of having a sense of what kind of activity would we find, what do we need help with, and might we find someone who says, oh, I like that sort of thing, I'm interested in that, you know, I can help.
Larry?
Might I suggest we have we pick a rehearsal night and have our significant others join us? Because that would then that would do two things for us. It would let us do our rehearsal and would let our core team of three gather with the other significant others to present some of the things that the auxiliary might want to become active in.
Maybe we could have a Christmas party, which we've done in the past.
There you go.
The last rehearsal before we go dark for a couple of weeks.
There you go.
Got a
Okay, that
thumbs
would
up from
be-
Mike Kading on that one.
So which date would that be? The
Not
15th?
this, yes,
The 15th?
Yeah, I think
yes.
it's
Good idea. Yeah.
Because the next two, I
I
think,
guess-
were dark.
Are we dark the next week? That'll be right before Christmas, and I think I'm out of town.
Me too.
So the 15th, is that, guys are going to be out?
So I can't make the 8th. I expect to make the 15th,
Yeah,
as far
15th
as
is
I know at the moment.
No, I'll be out the 21st is what I was saying.
So as far as opportunities for any kind of planned rehearsal, we've got this one coming up this next Thursday, which is the 8th. And then we have the 15th, which would be the last gathering before January. And so the 15th would be the optimum date for some kind of, you know, festivities, right? And because the next one is 2 days before Christmas, and then, you know, 2 days before New Year. So that's not, so we won't be doing meetings those days. So if we're going to do what was suggested, then we should probably promote it. I'm going to be sending out the information for this upcoming rehearsal later today, for the one for Thursday, and I can mention in that the plan to have a party. You know, bring your family, bring whoever. You bring your girlfriend, bring your wife, bring them both. It doesn't matter. You know, we'll have a good time.
Does
I
there
like that.
or something like that? Not really.
So let's see, Barbara has been rehearsing with Basque on Thursday nights for the holiday program, but their holiday show is on the 10th. So I doubt she's going to go to Basque on the 15th, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, Mike.
I like that idea, Dave. Thank you. Paul?
Would there be a gift exchange like we used to have? Number one. Number two, what about the COVID protocols? Is there anything we're gonna do about that, or?
I've asked to add that to the agenda for today. We were going to talk about it last time, but wanted Harry to be there to weigh in.
So to try to answer Paul's question, there has been no discussion about doing the kind of gift thing that we've done in the past. That idea had not popped up, and I don't know, Paul, if your question about COVID was general in nature or specific to the meeting with the spouses. So which was it?
It was specific. Well, it's in general, but for me, I was thinking specifically about a party,
Okay.
a holiday party.
Okay, thank you. So no, there wouldn't been any thought about that either.
So how about a decision to go ahead with the party?
I think it makes sense to go ahead with the party. Maybe we can come up with some games, but I don't think the gift exchange thing, that's kind of like, that's a lot of work for somebody to coordinate, people, what am I going to do? But we can probably come up with some kind of games. I saw something that Blake Shelton's got a new show called Barmageddon, where they've got these bar games that they're doing, which is kind of goofy. And maybe we can come up with some goofy games that'll be like Barbershop-ageddon or something like that. And,
bring your favorite fruitcake, and we can have a fruitcake tasting session.
Or tossing section. We can put out those little cornholes, and it'll be it'll be like a fruitcake toss.
Yeah. And you gotta have, as long as we got barf buckets, gotta have barf buckets all over the place.
Exactly. Okay, cool.
So it's on for
Mike Kading?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we should invite, turn it into a community event, and invite all the old guests and, barbershoppers that have been hanging out. Let's get a little soft recruiting going on this.
That's a great idea. I've been thinking about whether to reach out to Vince Scarich, who used to sing back in the 80s. I don't know if he'd be interested or not, but
yeah, let's
so Elliot, between Elliot and I, we'll come up with an invitation plan.
How about the former VIH members who haven't shown an interest in coming?
It's a barbershop party. If they come, they're on our, we got most of those people are on our information list. They're in Groupanizer, and so we can send them, and if they come, they come.
What's interesting is Andrew Inanega reached out to me about, he asked whether our afterglow for the tree lighting is open to non-members.
That'd be great. Yeah, let's have him.
I told him, yeah, please. So he's planning on joining us.
While we're talking about past guests, there was one guy who was fairly disruptive. I've tried to block his name out of my brain, so I don't remember who it is. But I think we said that we would reach out to him, or he might reach out to us after Christmas.
After the new year.
After the new year? Has that happened yet? Okay.
You're talking about Glenn?
Yeah.
You're talking about Glenn?
Yeah.
I see him every week, and my plan to get with him after the new year.
I don't expect it to go anywhere, but
no. Okay, but
he's not on our list. He's no longer in Groupanizer, Mark. So when we send out information, he's been deleted from the Groupanizer environment. So he doesn't get any notices or anything, just so you know.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, any further comments on the auxiliary team formation? All right, so we're going to move into the new business area. I discovered that we actually have a lot of awards to consider at this point in time, not just the Q4 Barber Shopper, but we've got the Board Award, the President's Award, Barber Shopper of the Year, and the Rookie to consider. Do you think we can get that all done today?
If I remember correctly, the Barber Shopper of the Year is Dave Morley, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Barber Shopper of the Year is determined by the previous 3 awardees. So
That's
it's not
correct.
something that the board needs to deal with. It's those people.
That's correct.
The rookie does have to be by the board. And what was the other one, Dana?
President's award is given by the president.
Yeah,
And then-
I'll take care of that.
And then the board award is we pick somebody as a group.
Okay,
So the last 3 awardees for Barber Shopper of the Year were, I think I've got one of those plaques right here. Yeah, I got the one. So I guess I was at last year. And then in 2020 it was Blaise, and in 2019 it was Dave Morley. So those are the 3 people who would make that determination. I will arrange a conversation between the 3 of us.
Okay. Let's see, I think last year we had a rookie award that was given to Jerry Totes, but he hasn't been active. And so the presentation of the rookie award would have to be done by, well, maybe Harry, since you were one.
Dave Morley, it looks like you have something to say.
Who are the people that are up for, who we could vote for the Rookie of the Year?
Shiv, I mean, we're talking about new members to the Peninsulaires,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
That's correct.
Shiv, Skip,
Ethan?
Ethan. No, has Ethan only been with us a year or so?
Really? No, I think he's
I think he's
longer
been
than
there
that.
longer than that. But I'm not sure. Oh God, who I was just thinking
Hey,
about?
Shiv's been there longer, I
Yeah,
think.
she's been there longer.
Um,
Well, when-
what exactly is the criteria?
So here's the John, I'll ask you in a second, but here's my understanding. It's like, it has to do with when someone became a Peninsulaire. And the folks who came over to us from the other chorus became members of the Peninsulaires probably in December or January of this past year. They weren't, when they performed with us at the Halloween thing in October of 2021, they were still guests, if memory serves. And so they did not become, because the whole dissolution of the old chapter had not yet been completed and blah, blah, blah. So it was something like early 2022 that actually took place. Curtis, am I right about that?
This is very exciting. This means I'm up for Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
I would tend to suggest that the spirit of it should be that it's somebody who's new to barbershop.
Yeah.
John
No?
Wanless.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think Elliot has all this information, like when they joined. And I think it would be very useful if Elliot just put forth a list of so that we know about it rather than thinking about what happened during the past year or when. And as I remember, the criteria was 18 months. We actually extended it, and so if Elliot could get the list of people who joined the Peninsulaires in the last 18 months, that would be, and then publish it, and then we could vote via email or some other meeting. But I don't think that we're going to wind up getting the complete list doing this.
Good
Right.
point.
Okay, and
I
so
agree.
so it's that became members.
became a Peninsulaire within the last 18 months.
And I'll
Correct,
take that to be, yeah, since mid-year 2021.
correct.
Okay.
All right. Then what about the board award? Do we have any nominations?
Could we define the criteria for that? Anyone?
My memory is that has more to do with volunteer service to the chapter than with singing per se. And it's basically, you know, in a normal functioning, the board would have subcommittees of people that are not on the board, or maybe people that visit the board meetings and contribute to the conversation but are not on the board. I don't think that the board award has to go to someone that's not on the board, but I think that was kind of the long running spirit of it, was to appreciate someone else for their organizational contributions to the chapter other than being on the board.
Right.
I like that, Mark. So do we have anybody that comes to mind?
But it can be a board member.
It could
It could
be.
be a board member, it could also be a spouse. It doesn't have to be a member of the chapter.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm gonna throw out a couple of names of individuals that I think contributed a lot to the to us in 2022. Chris Hebert, and I think Jerry Wong, and those are the big two that come to mind to me as far as things that they had done. You know, Jerry did the whole thing with the course, the training thing, and he coordinated that, and then he did all the whole bunch of stuff for the show, etc. So that's why I think he fits in. And then Chris, the stuff that Chris has been bringing forth to us, I think has elevated our level of performance substantially. Had he not been there, we would have been a lot further behind than we are today, in my opinion. So those are the two names that come to mind to me. Anybody else?
I think of Terry Moore. Since we started bringing snacks back into the picture, when we started that, you know, opening up at 6:30. Dave, you did it for several weeks, and then Terry kind of took over for you,
Which was
and
godsend.
now he's coming every week early, and not only setting up little snack table, but he's also setting up Elliot's signs for the guests. So I'd like to add Terry Moore to the list. I have one other, and that would be Barb and or Melinda, for the work they did as for the silent auction. They did a fantastic job.
Right.
And the tickets at the door.
should we split this up, since you're bringing the ladies in? Maybe we should split it up and have one of each. But as far as the suggestions, I think Terry Moore would be great, because I don't know if he's ever been recognized. So since he's doing it, it'd be nice to think about him.
That's a good point, Paul.
And he's actually, since he's come back, his wife passed, and then he went through some COVID stuff, and he's back full bore, and he's been just actually even having conversations with him is enjoyable these days. I just, so it's been a really good thing. I can support Terry for sure.
That's great. Well, work emergency need to disappear for 30 minutes.
There goes my kidding. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So shall we put this to a vote?
Can we get clarification on whether we're voting on one or two?
Paul Frudenthal, was your suggestion that we have a board award for an actual member of the Peninsulaires and a board award for a supporting member who's not a
Yeah.
Peninsulaire. Is that what you were suggesting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like that idea.
Yeah.
One award, we can make up our mind.
I agree with Larry. I think we need to make up, but in the past, we have given a board award out to a spouse.
But I think it should be just one award. It can be two people given the same award, but not. In other words, if we voted for Melinda and Barb, they would be co-board. I don't know.
Actually, if we did that, I would suggest including Fanny in there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elliot. I forgot about Fanny.
Worked very hard.
Yeah, she
That
worked
is
really
true.
hard too.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. All the girls did.
And we can certainly
Hillary-
recognize them on the 15th, can't we?
Right.
Shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem like I would like us to recognize them in some way. I think we are all in agreement about that. It doesn't have to be the board award by that name, but maybe we can come up with something that would be a way of recognizing or honoring that work.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Mark.
Yeah, and we should be able to squeeze that into our program on the 15th. So,
Yeah.
we have a couple weeks. Let's figure out what to do about that. So, any other nominations, thoughts, ideas, so we can get this one tabled?
So are you saying, Larry, that we'll honor the three ladies at the party, but then we'll have a board award? Is that what you're saying, or what?
The board award would not be given to the ladies. We're going to come up with some kind of a recognition thing for them. The board award needs to be determined by us today and will be presented at the installation dinner.
Yes.
Okay, so right now there are three names on the table, if I remember correctly. They are Terry Moore, Chris Aber, and Jerry Wong. And I am happy to remove my two candidates away from the table if that makes sense to anybody, and just say, hey, we got an opportunity. Do we want to vote for Terry Moore, and or I don't know, Dave Morley, you have something to say.
I think Jerry should be, at least we should vote with Jerry in there.
Okay, so those two guys.
For the food.
Okay,
Okay, so we got two candidates that remain.
yes.
Let's go for a vote, and those who would like to elect Jerry Wong, raise your hand.
I voted for him. I put his name in there. I got to put my hand up.
So I see 5.
Okay.
And then for Terry Moore, raise your hand.
There's nothing that says you can't vote for more than one person.
I was just going to comment on that.
Okay. 1, 2, keep them up. 1, 2,
got
3,
5.
4, 5.
And Mark, wasn't your hand up?
My hand was up for Jerry because I thought I should only vote for one, but
Okay, well, it's a tie right now.
It's a tie.
Break the tie.
The tie, so we
Dennis, you need to
can
break the tie. Just kidding.
we can present both of them with a board award.
We could do that.
I'm not crazy about shared awards.
All right, so let's give it to Terry. I think Jerry's gotten some good recognition from us over the year, and Terry has. Let's do that.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, that's done. Moving on then. Let's see. So the action on the awards, the 3 prior barber shoppers of the year are going to move ahead with their selection. I have to select one. We've got the 4th quarter barber shopper to decide.
Barber shopper of the quarter,
Yes.
Q4.
Jerry Wong.
Yeah, why don't
Jerry
we just
Wong.
give it to Jerry?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But let's everybody in favor of that, raise your hand. Okay. And that's Jerry.
I want to, while we're on the subject of awards, I want to just mention to the group that there is another award called the Hall of Fame Award, which is not given every year, and the decision committee for that is past winners of it, going all the way back. So there is an email thread going around with possible nominations for that for this year. It may or may not be given this year, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody
Make
knows
that,
about
it's on,
that.
it's on the list, right?
Tell me the name of the award again.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Okay.
Right.
Does this have to be a member? It doesn't have to be a member then.
There's nothing associated, it has nothing to do with the board at all, Paul. It's all, anyone who's received the award in the past 75 years and is still with us has a vote as to who gets the award this year, if anybody is nominated.
And you're right, it doesn't have to go to a member. I think it usually does, but again, it was not restricted in any way to that.
Well, how do you vote on that? Just the board votes on that?
The board has nothing to do with it. The board doesn't even know about it. It's only the people who have been awarded the Hall of Fame award that put their heads together and come up with the decision, and it has nothing to do with the board.
So you'd have to get everybody together and to vote.
Yeah.
Which we do.
Oh,
I didn't mean to confuse people but I just wanted, I think there's a lot of folks that may not have ever heard of it and are new to the chapter. So I wanted you to know that that is also happening in the context of awards right now.
Oh, it's going on. It's being done right now.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So are we done with?
The last thing, it's only given in half the years or less. It's not given every year. It's like when someone's been doing great stuff for 10 years and they haven't yet been honored in that way. That's sort of like a long-term appreciation thing.
Who are the when was the last award given?
I don't remember.
It was
pre-COVID.
given to John.
Pre-COVID.
To John?
Given to John Wanless.
Oh.
It was just before COVID.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
Paul, that
Okay.
information doesn't need to be in the minutes.
Okay.
This is just a sidebar.
Installation dinner. We need to pick a date. And the possible dates are the 8th, the 16th, the 22nd, or the 29th in January.
How about Monday night in
Whoa. So you're thinking about it on a Monday night? 9, 16, 23rd, did you say?
No, these are all Sundays that I mentioned.
Well, 2023 January Sundays are 8, 15, 22, 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so I had an incorrect date for the Sunday. So 8, 15, 22, or 29. How about the 15th?
That gives
So
us
the 15th is the middle of Martin Luther King weekend, which might be a problem for some people.
Yeah, they may be traveling, right?
I would lean towards the 22nd.
Anybody else have a?
I'm going to be out of town on the 15th, but you can install me without me being there.
If the 8th works for people, then that would give the new board the full month to do stuff and write reports before meeting.
I was considering going to the American Mathematical Society meeting. Then let me just find out when it is actually.
We want to be able to count on you, Mike.
Oh, that's good.
The 8th sounds good to me.
Oh, wait a minute.
So do we have any
No.
sense of where?
Well, we like the Don Giovanni's in Mountain View. Has a nice separate room for us.
That's been great in the past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a good location.
So, yeah, I would prefer the 22nd. If other people want to do the 8th, then I'm not going to kick up too much of a fuss, but I think the 22nd would be better for me.
Harry, you're the incoming president. What
I'm
works
looking,
good for you?
I think I may have theater tickets for a matinee on the 22nd. I'm looking at my calendar here. Yeah, that's, I assume, yeah, that would be as good for me. The other dates, 8th is good.
This is Harry's
15th is
party.
good. Okay, all the other Sundays look good for me.
Well, it sounds like the 8th is best for, that everybody can make it.
Except Michael.
I
Except
may or
Mike,
may
you-
not be able to make it. Yeah.
You don't know yet.
Well, I haven't really decided whether I'm going to the AMS meeting or not, but if I did, so it's from the 8th to the 12th, probably not much is happening on the 8th, but on the other hand, if I fly out on Monday, I won't get there for anything on Monday.
Where do you have to go, Mike?
Boston.
Boston. So would you be taking a morning flight or would you be taking an overnight?
Here.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, think that through. If you take a
uh-huh.
night flight, this thing is in the early afternoon and you'll be okay. But if you need to go, you take the morning flight on the 8th, then you'll miss it.
Right,
If an
yeah.
airplane leaves San Francisco,
Sounds like a math problem to me.
That's great. Well, why don't we go with the 8th, assuming that I can line the place up. Also have to get someone to do the installation. And if you have any recommendations, let me know.
Chris,
Paul?
I think Chris Aber did it in the past. He's always great.
He's done it in the past. We had oh gosh, what's his
We
name?
have a resident. We have a resident.
Well, Rich Postal did it
yeah.
During COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Rich did do it. Okay.
What's it? Richard Lund has done it for us.
Gary Bowles has done it, but he's
Gary
moved out.
Bowles.
Let's contact Marty. Have him come out from Nashville.
So anyway, sure we can find somebody.
Okay, well then let me work with Dave Cokerhook to.
Aren't you going to work with the incoming president on this one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. I
Harry
don't want to take away any of Harry's thunder.
Yeah.
So why don't we do that?
And Dave is getting stale with all this stuff, so I think you and Harry should work on this.
All right.
I bet we could get Nashville to send us one of those guys that gives a 20-minute lecture on about Harmony Foundation.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so Dave K, you work with Harry.
No, I thought you were gonna work with Harry.
Oh, okay, I'll work with Harry.
And I'm
All
going
right.
to work with Elliot, so we make sure that Harry and Dana work together on it.
Yeah, but what time of day is the
It's usually 1:30 on a Sunday,
oh, okay.
at least the times I've been there. So
Okay.
Is it dinner? That sounds really early.
It's
it's kind of a late lunch.
early dinner.
Early dinner.
Early afternoon has been
lunch.
when we've done it.
Midwestern style dinner.
We can pretend we're on Eastern time, so 1:30 is really 4:30, and
So we could call it supper.
yeah.
Just have brunch, the installation brunch, and then Mike can fly to Boston.
Perfect. Okay, so it's going to be on the 8th, and I'll work with Harry on who's going to do the installation. 2023 Valentine's is the next item
Yes.
I'm open, if you want me, I'm open to do the scheduling. And I know the Boomerang is set up to sing.
So I think one of the big things is preparation of the marketing material to start going out right after Christmas or right just immediately after New Year's or something, because 6 weeks or so is good for us to make that push. So and then there's two other things in my mind. One is what formalized quartets might be available. Dave said Boomerang's available. Vocal Capital would be available. Mark T, I know you guys are working to try to put a quartet together. I don't know if that's been formalized.
Yeah, we're planning to have that as a quartet with Curtis, Mike, and why do I'm blanking on his name? Don Shively. We haven't talked about Valentine's yet, but we are talking about prepping for contests and stuff. So I think that we would be rehearsing in an organized quartet with some repertoire for Valentine's probably also.
Okay, and then I know that Shiv and Ethan and Nick and I don't know who the fourth person is are looking at the young guns have put something together.
Spencer.
And so oh yeah, Spencer. So there might be 4 organized quartets.
Maybe more. Larry and Elliot, have you guys found another tenor yet? Because I ditched you.
No, we're still in mourning.
We're denial.
Did you ask Bruce yet?
No, we haven't.
We have not.
Maybe
So
we should do that.
But yes, there is a possibility for a chord to be one of those quartets.
Okay, so it sounds like we may have 4 or 5 chapter quartets, which then begs the question to me, Dave Morley, as to whether or not we need to try to facilitate ad hoc quartets like we have done in past years, because we only had 1 or 2 organized quartets.
If we have 5, that's given the response we've had in the last 4 or 5 years, 5 is more than enough.
Cool.
And even 4 is enough. I can spread them out. Al Ward doesn't move quite as fast, so I have to give us a little bit more time between times. But no, 4 is enough usually.
Just a suggestion that with not only with the paid singing Valentines, but this is an opportunity for us to get out to schools or get out to our local city offices and things like that to just sing and let those kinds of organizations know that we're in the community.
And nursing homes and hospitals if they'll let us.
Right.
So we would just have to contact these locations and ask if they'd be interested in having guys come by and sing a few to them.
Yeah.
We have to be careful with COVID protocol, especially going into hospitals or nursing homes.
True.
And these would be community outreach, not paid for gigs.
Possibly.
Possibly.
It might depend. I know Dave Morley's brother has a set of senior residence communities and purchases singing Valentine's performances for them. Who knows? I mean, if we put the word out to some of the communities, they might say, oh God, for whatever, $150 or whatever it is to come and sing to 30 people, that might work. Okay. So
do we want to consider something virtual this year? I'm leaning towards no.
Well, I know we did it last year and the year before, and I know that a number of the purchases for virtual that I had any influence on came from people who were in other states, not in California, and that was extremely well received by those people because it was a unique delivery. So that would be my only comment with respect to whether or not it makes sense to do a virtual. It is like, where would they be? If they're in the Bay Area, it's like, why would we do that? If they're in, you know, Boston or Ohio or Seattle or, you know, San Diego, like the places that bought it from, yeah, why not? Thoughts? Any other thoughts? Dave Morley, what's your thought on this?
I'm okay. You organized it in the past, Dave, so there's nothing for scheduling. That's the nice thing. So we just do it.
Yeah, I mean, when we couldn't go face to face, doing it virtual ended up making us a few shekels, and it was
Yes.
a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Do you think that, Dave, do you think that, that VC would be up for doing another session for this year, or would you like to use the canned product from last year or the previous?
I
don't know
think
what your timing is like.
I think we're singing better now than we were a year ago. So I would suggest that it might be appropriate for us to come up with some fresh takes.
Okay.
You could,
Was
you could,
okay.
you could record yourself actually singing together now instead of four.
Oh no, yeah, no, we did that last year. We got together and did that. And it was okay. We were in most of the sessions were outdoors, and then we had an airplane flying over, and we had, you know, so there were there were some distractions here and there. But yes, yeah, you're right, Dave. It's much easier now where we can all be together and we can find a decent place to do that. There are
No,
a
Ramin
number
has
of
all of
facilities.
the recording stuff also. So if you guys, I mean, we could do it also.
Cool.
Ilya,
One thought about the virtual is that is really something that we could potentially scale. And, you know, if people who've experienced it and liked it recommend it to friends, and over time we kind of grow. I mean, you know, that's a lot of revenue potentially. Just a thought.
I like that.
So I wonder if somewhere, I'm sure we have the historical information captured as to who purchased through the website, and therefore Stripe or whatever it is, you know, last year and the year before on the virtual. So I wonder if we might be, and if they do that, we have to have their email address, because that's the only way that worked. So it sounds like a possible marketing effort.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if we look at that, by the way, I did send a text message when we started this meeting to Ethan, just ask him if he was going to be at the board meeting, and I didn't get a response. I don't know if he's working or what, but that's unfortunate.
Yeah, we got to get that young man on board with responding to phone calls and emails and texts and such.
Yeah.
Before
So as far as the virtual thing, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. I'll
We can
check
get-
with my guys about you know, when we set up a session. We've got all kind of songs now that even other that were different from last year even, and
Yeah.
so
And let's
Yeah.
do a video shoot at John's church.
we
What
could
can-
do that.
One camera, 4 microphones in the church to get the, oh my, that I'm going now. Here comes my sound engineering thing happening.
We
Yeah,
can
if you want.
we could possibly do it there. I mean, I could probably get the TV studio I work at to let us use their facility for, you know, for an hour, you know.
There you go. Be a great idea. A little more professional production, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, do you want to look at Stripe and see if you can find the people who've ordered it in the past on the virtual end?
Yeah, I'll do that.
I know my brother's one of them, and he's got a lot of friends, so I will appeal to him personally.
Sounds
I
good.
was just poking around to see how other companies or other courses advertise And I found a website that looks pretty slick called ordersingingvalentine.com. That's, you know, somebody built this for their chorus and then they scaled it. So it's actually a system that we could pay $90 a year to use that would do all the order taking and scheduling and route maps and stuff, like all the hard work that Dave does and that Stripe does. They take, you know, 5% of revenue, or you can pay more and have them take 0%. But that might be worth considering if we don't want to build that kind of thing ourselves, or if you're happy doing it, Dave, then we don't need that.
The issue really is that there's a lot to the scheduling. I mean, if somebody orders it, I try to schedule a person who ordered it to deliver it. And also there's timing involved. I'm not sure we want to hire somebody else.
So my next question is, what are we going to charge for Valentine's? What last year it was what, $75, was it?
I think we
Yes.
should do 75.
We got a bunch of them last year, so. And then as far as the virtuals, what do we charge for the virtuals? Was it 30?
I think it was 30, yeah.
30 virtual, 75 in person. Bump, done.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good.
Yeah, it's 75th anniversary, so we need to stick to 75.
There you go.
Any other comments about Valentine? All right, next topic is the possibility of hosting the April 2023 division convention, or co-hosting it.
So Curtis, you want to lead the talk on this?
Sure. This is something that has been discussed, in particular trying to look for venues where it would be. Mike and I back in September visited Claremont High School for an American Choral Directors event, and it is they've got an outstanding performing arts facility that's there. So I had kind of mentioned to Randy about the possibility that we may have a location, and he asked if we would be interested in doing that. So he asked me if I'd reach out to Richard Lund. I have, right before Thanksgiving, reached out to Richard Lund. They hadn't heard anything from anybody, so they kind of had moved ahead, but he kind of put a pause on it until I said I'd talk to us here at our board meeting on the 3rd. Be a great opportunity and event for the society to host it for us. Mike has some experience in doing it, I believe. One of the chapters that he's been a part of is hosted in the past. While we were having the meeting here, I was on the webpage looking at of the it's Sequoia Union School District that Claremont High School is in, kind of looking to see if the facility was even available for the weekend. It is available for that weekend. Right now it is, they do not have that weekend blocked off. I'm estimating, kind of based off of what they had on their webpage, that rental of the facility would probably be about $5,000. I have no idea what that means in terms of the overall budget, because I don't know what they've done in the past for this kind of event.
Where's that?
Are you saying Claremont or Carlmont? Carlmont is Belmont. Claremont is in Oakland.
Hold on, let me pull that back up. Give me just a moment. Thank you. Carlmont.
That's in
Belmont.
Belmont.
Yeah.
Okay, because that was my next question, is what about lodging? There's no lodging near Carlmont.
No, there is no lodging near Carlmont. It's up on the hill. So that would, of course, be something that we'd have to look into as well for the convention. I was just thinking about it from the performance facility side of things. But yeah, it sounds like they're just kind of holding for us for the moment. I think the idea was that if we Mike and Dave and I had discussed was that if we host the convention in the spring, that we would probably not put on our own show in the spring, because our big goal would be to host that convention. If we don't hold the convention, then we are putting on some sort of collaborative show with somebody, with some other organizations. I think that was kind of where the last discussion was on that.
Right.
Elliot?
Yeah, I just have a question. So I've never been aware of the idea of a particular chorus hosting or sponsoring the convention in the past. Maybe I missed it. I'm just wondering, like, what does that do for us?
I don't think it's. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
There's a couple of things that are involved. If any time we've been to one of these events, the people that show you where to go, whatever, that's the hosting. The chorus has handled all that sort of thing. The hosting chorus is responsible for coordinating the scheduling along with whoever's coming in to do the judging and stuff like that, coordinating with the district and the divisional reps as far as timing, et cetera. The hosting chorus does share in the revenue that is generated for the event, because anyone who's going to go and participate needs to pay a registration fee, right? And so the hosting organization event does share in the revenue. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but I know they get a share of the revenue. And yeah, so that's what I know.
Oh, so no, sounds nice. It's like a combination of kind of giving back to the society and also possibly bringing in some revenue. So
yeah.
What would it mean for our singing program for the spring? Would we?
Well, that's a good question. My observation in some of the events, and Curtis, help me out on this, but my observation in a number of the district and division conventions that I've been to is that the hosting organization is not necessarily heavily vested in competing at that particular event, because they have been so busy doing all this other stuff. Now, they may sing as a chorus as part of the activity, maybe the mic testing or whatever, but they're not necessarily have had the opportunity to put the focus and preparation in to compete.
That's not been my experience. Usually, in my experience, a hosting chapter has always competed, and they usually choose to sing last because they've been. But I believe that they sing just along with everybody else.
Cool.
I agree that they sing. I think you're right, Dave, that they don't have as much time to warm up and practice because they're instead, a lot of them are volunteering and shepherding people around. So they probably don't sing as well as they would if they were just focused on that in the contest. But I think Dave Morley's right that they usually do compete.
So would our ushers be dressed as pirates?
Sure.
I wanted to comment about the cost of lodging. I think that it's finally dawning on me why the conventions are always in these podunk little towns, and that's because they always have a Days Inn that's cheap, and we don't have that in the Bay Area anywhere. We could try to do a deal with the big Marriott that's on 101. That's probably fairly close to Carlmont. It's near San Mateo, but people would still have to drive 10 minutes to get there. There are some maybe cheaper hotels, but I don't think that anything's going to be like $100 a night like it is in Fresno or these other small places.
We could charter buses from Tracy.
Just a note in terms of geographical location and things like that. Stockton, it was in Stockton last spring, and the school performance facility was on one side of town, and the convention hotel was on another side of town, and it was about a 10-minute drive. So it's having for this kind of event, having the hotel right next to it is not necessarily required, but I think the concern over the cost of the hotels in the area is something that certainly could be an issue.
Yeah.
So that's something we can certainly look into and do some research on.
They'll host it if it was out of town.
I wanted to comment on the whether, if we were hosting this, whether we would be up for competing as well. My question is, Curtis, do you know going forward whether divisions will continue as festivals, or if they will get back to qualifications for district? Like
I honestly do not have an answer to that.
Okay, because I think that would make a difference in our decision whether to lay all of our focus on hosting and logistics, as opposed to, you know, this committee's taking care of that, and then the chorus has their two songs that we've got to work. I mean, if we're going to compete, I'd like to compete at a high level, not just, okay, you guys can sing last, and you know, we'll see what happens.
Mike's comment when we were discussing this a couple of weeks ago was that typically what ends up happening is there's about 4 to 5 people who have a lot of that organizational busy work to do leading up to the days of. During the days of, it really does take all hands on deck, because people and you may notice that a lot of times it's not only members of the chorus, but it's spouses and family members who are also shepherding groups around. So there is all of that. So yeah, it would probably take a commitment from 4 or 5 of us to really be that committee to get things moving forward, and then the whole chorus for that weekend to get the event running.
Dave Morley.
Another question, and this is probably for the district. It really doesn't make sense to have this division contest for just one division. You can't financially make a profit with a small number of people. So in the last few years, they've combined 2 different divisions into one contest. And if they're going to continue that, then that's the only way I would say we should go forward. If it's just for our division, then it doesn't make sense financially to do it.
Yeah, I think that the discussion was for Northeast and Northwest to have it together.
I mean, so to be honest, I feel like we're on a good track on the singing, and that's kind of where I would like to focus. I mean, this could be my personality. I'm not really an organizer or a planner, and we're talking now about, it sounds like most of this is about organizing and planning, which I'm not good at and don't like. So that's just, you know, I will get behind the board decision, whatever it is, but that's just kind of my reaction to start with.
Elliot, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask whether hosting necessarily means that it needs to be geographically where the chorus is based, because the possibility would be to pick some neutral area that, you know, is in the boondocks but doesn't have associated chorus.
When I spoke with Richard, I think that right now they're looking at doing it in Davis. Is the last place that they had just toured some facilities and things like that when I spoke with them before Thanksgiving.
And I agree with what they're doing. I think it has more to do with not so much location, but the actual facility and the cost of such a facility. I know that the facility at Stockton, that school is set up quite nicely for the numbers that come to the Northeast Northwest division. But you wouldn't use something like we use in Fresno for division, right? You wouldn't have to have something that big. So Curtis's mention of Carmont High School setup is, in my opinion, equivalent to, if not better than, what we're used to in Stockton.
Yeah, Carmont seats, I think I'm actually on their webpage for that Performing Arts Center. The main theater seats just under 500 people. So slightly larger than Stockton, but not much,
right.
I think.
Right.
I just think that location is both expensive for hotels and too far west for the people that are coming from northeast, where something like Davis or Sacramento is more kind of central probably for them. I wanted to make the other comment that this is not exactly just about do we want to do it as an upside for us? It's more like somebody has to step up and do it or the convention doesn't happen. There was a convention that fell apart or almost fell apart because a chorus agreed to do it and then pulled out at the last minute. That was somewhere in the Northwest a year or two ago. And it was a real problem. So I don't know what the other choruses are that are large enough to consider providing the volunteer manpower for this, but it might be one of those, it's kind of our turn to step up and give back moments on an organizational perspective.
I agree with Mark. It's kind of our turn to do it.
Yeah, it's been a while. But Mark's point, yeah, it's a good point, Mark. Maybe we consider East Bay locations,
or consider doing something like that in and here's this as I said, when I spoke with Richard Lund, they were already moving ahead with plans. Davis.
Oh, Davis. Okay.
Looks like it'll be Davis. We could say this is something I think we should do. We're one of the more healthy organizations, chapters right now in the area. Maybe Belmont isn't the best option. We could host it, but perhaps host it in Stockton or perhaps host it in Lodi as well. I know it's been hosted in Lodi several times. I've got numerous connections in both. The big thing is that we just I think last year when it was in Stockton, it wasn't Vocal the host anyway. So yeah, it does not have to be in the same town or in the same area.
Right.
Does that mean that people have to be like doing a lot of driving back and forth to get stuff set up out there?
Not really. Not really.
Not necessarily.
It means there'd be, again, the committee of 4 or 5 people. We'd have to go tour facilities, sign contracts, do schedules and things like that. There would be some work for some of us in the chorus, yes, but and then again that weekend there would be work for the whole chapter.
Curtis, is Richard Lund set up to do this with another chapter already, and we're seeing if we can help or if we can take it over?
There was discussion. It was more location discussion and then kind of taking it over. I could call him back and say that we didn't. Here, just spitballing a couple ideas. Maybe we could assist with some of that organizational work, or see if there's somebody who that there's some jobs that need to be done, and keep it in Davis, because as I said, they've already toured facilities, they've already started looking at those, but when I spoke with him a week and a half ago, he goes, okay, I'll put a slow on it until I hear back from you.
I feel like it's a little late for us to be getting involved. Like if we were actually planning it to be in the spring, I would have wanted to start more than 6 months in advance. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I mean, I guess if nobody's gotten further than what you're saying Richard has done anyway, then someone needs to step up and help. My other thought is that maybe since we haven't done this with this group of guys ever or in a long time, maybe we offer to just help and shadow this year another chorus that's
okay.
And then we could learn, and then we'd be set up to lead it a year later. And then my last comment is about location. Maybe we could propose some compromise, not for this year, but for next year, someplace like Dublin, that is even further east than the East Bay, a little less convenient for us, but a little more convenient for people coming from places like Reno.
Well, since we're mentioning that, my district is building a performing arts facility. I'm not sure if we're opening up what point we're opening up next year. Yeah, it's going to be nice. I was on the committee to
where is that?
Plan for it. It's in Hayward, at Mount Eden High School. At the moment, I can't remember what the completion date was for the facility, but I think it was going to be around the same size, around a 500-seat theater, and acoustically designed for It's I don't know how many of you know Ken Rodden, but it's Ken Rodden's old school, and he was kind of key in getting that going too. So
yeah, I mean, I was thinking that the difference between Stockton and Davis doesn't seem that much. I mean, they're only half an hour apart.
So what the board can make the decision on this, whether there's a couple of things that have been put forth. One is that we kind of take it over. The other is that we offer assistance in that let's find some people who can kind of shadow and get the plans so that we can do it in 24.
So I would like to hear what our incoming president has to say about this possibility. Harry, this is, if this moves forward in any way, shape, or form, then you're going to have a team who would be leading it, but you're going to be the guy at the helm. So
yeah, well, it's something I have had no experience with doing at all, so I might be a little more comfortable with helping out or learning, more about it, and being rather than being responsible for the whole thing this spring, unless I had people around me that had a lot more experience doing this. It's something brand new to me, and it's not to echo what Michael has said, it's not really something that I have a lot of experience with.
Dave Moore,
Michael has some.
Mike, but I'm going to throw in Dave Morley. When is the last time the Peninsulaires hosted a division or a district event?
We hosted it one time at the Heritage Theater in Campbell, and it was probably about 8, 9, 10 years ago. I don't remember the dates, but it was at the Heritage Theater in Campbell.
I remember that. And that would have been probably 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds
that was an okay location because we were just far west or NorCal West, not trying to combine with.
Michael?
Yeah, so I wanted to get clarity on if we do the shadow thing, does that mean that we will do a spring show? And it did occur to me that, if we're pointing towards the 75th thing, I can see various things coming in here, right? Like Mark's point is good about, can we keep people excited about the music if they don't have a show coming up immediately? On the other hand, if we have 9 months to get together one show, we might be able to do better than when we tried to learn 5 songs in 10 weeks or whatever it was, right? I don't know. I'm not sure where that comes out either way, but just would like to know, would we be doing a spring show assuming we do the shadow thing?
Curtis?
Because we hadn't even discussed the potential of shadow or shared or something like that. I'm not going to speak for Mike on this per se, but because the two of us often have a lot of discussions around it. I would think that we would probably would be doing a spring show.
Yeah, when Mike and Curtis and I were talking about this 2-3 weeks ago, it was, if we host, the amount of energy and effort associated with that would probably mean that we would be wise to defer a show in the spring, because there would be concentrated effort by a core team, but activities from everyone else to support all of that. But if we weren't going to be the hosting chorus and therefore have that higher level of responsibility, then it would probably be logical for us to have a spring show.
Based on the revenue, if we were hosting and didn't do the spring show, would it be kind of revenue neutral, or would
pretty much. I mean, we didn't make a lot of money on this year's spring show. I think we made less than $1,000. We might make $1,500 or something like that off of the division thing if we were the host. That's kind of the input that I got, Curtis, from what you and Mike and I had talked about. That seemed to be reasonable, $1,500 to $2,000, and that would revert to the chapter. depending upon how many people actually come and pay, their registration to participate in the division event.
Right.
Well, I think it's, we don't have enough time to really do a great job of being the sole host. So I like the idea of shadowing and then taking on a full responsibility in a year.
Comments from anyone on that?
Curtis, I guess, you've been the liaison to them, so maybe talk to Richard Lund, and if that seems appealing to him, then we're good. If he's really stuck and desperately needing us as a chapter to step up and lead this now, don't wait till the next board meeting, like send out an email and we can talk about it. And because if we are going to commit to it, I think we need to make that decision very soon.
Quickly.
Start.
I think that's just about perfectly expressed. Yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with Mark.
Okay,
Great.
I can do that.
Great.
Any-
Righty
any
then.
other-
Whew.
Yeah. The last item is 75th anniversary planning, a fall event instead of a spring show.
Do we think we're gonna have time to talk about the COVID protocol?
Sure.
I think we should. I think it's time.
Yeah, okay.
We'll add that on. Thanks for reminding me, Elliot.
So, as far as the 75th goes, we were looking at a couple of things. I mentioned earlier that we were considering, and I've already reached out to several individuals, previous directors, to find a song that they would be interested in directing. The thought was 7 decades of Peninsulaires, 7.5, 7 decades of the Peninsulaires performance. What if we were to be able to identify a song that the chorus sang in each of those decades and bring them into the performance thing? Now that's a challenge in that none of us that are in the chorus right now are with the chorus in the 40s or the 50s. Okay. And so even if we found songs that we sang in, there's no record of what was sung at conventions in the late 40s or the 50s or even the 60s at BHS. Okay. And anyone that I'd been referred to see if they had such information don't have anything past the mid 70s. Okay. Earlier than the mid 70s. And so, so we don't know what those would be, but even if we just took something from all of those and we had a 7 song set, for the most part, those are all new songs for this particular version of the chorus. Okay. And so that is a learning curve. All right. And, but it doesn't have to be that kind of a thing. This has been a brainstorm session so far with Mike and Curtis and I. And it just becomes a question as to whether that's practical in the period of time between now and when we do this, which would likely be toward in November of 2023, because we were thinking it would be like 4 to 5 weeks after the district convention, which is scheduled for 13, 14, 15 of October 2023. So if we go, 4 weeks or beyond that, we're in, or 5 weeks beyond that, we're into the 11th or the 18th of November. That was the sort of thinking that we had, because we wanted to avoid one of the things that we experienced this year was the pressure right after convention to try to get the show together and stuff like that. So that's kind of where the thought process is at the moment. We do know that Sean Abel is very interested in directing a song, and his song that he really likes is On a Wonderful Day Like Today.
Which version?
Probably the version that the chorus did
Last.
when he was a member. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we changed it 3 times when he was our director, so I was just kind of kidding. Go ahead.
then Steve Salmons is interested, and he had a couple of songs that he was thinking, and I've got that data from Mike Keating.
Mike just texted that. It says time goes by
As
and
time goes by, or I'll be seeing you, which is cool. I like both of those. I like both those songs. We sang with the chorus when Steve was there.
There's probably 6 that we could choose from for John Williams, because he was around for.
Yeah. Well, but we have to get. I don't think we've been able to reach him just yet.
I can reach him.
So that's like 3 songs out of
Is there a
7?
Is there a historian who has a bunch of physical things from the chorus from a long time ago?
I have a bunch.
So one of the things that Bert suggested, and I don't know exactly where these are right now. I thought they might be at the Elks, but I'm not sure. But there were boxes of scripts from shows that the chorus had done going back many decades. And within each of those scripts is the list of songs that were performed in the show. So Larry, you're shaking your head. Is that you still have that? So Larry has that. I don't know how far back that goes.
I have relocated several, probably 3 or 4 boxes of exactly what you're talking about, Dave. So they are at the Elks.
They're at the Elks
on one of those shelves. I've recently attained 3 more boxes of stuff from a couple of members. So we do have written documentation of some of the things that happened during these periods.
That can be good for material for the script, for the list of songs, and also for artifacts to put on tables to look at.
Yes. And that leads to the question, or I actually had the question before you mentioned that, Mark, was, are we, I know it's still early, but are we considering this as a stand and deliver type of performance, or a scripted?
Yeah, probably. Well, we haven't really made a decision on that. So I don't, but it's probably more like that than one of the ideas was, if we are able to pick a song from a decade, you can have something that flips a decade thing out, the 1970s, and a song from the 70s, whatever, but I don't think it's going to be scripted to the degree that we did the pirate show, for instance.
Okay.
It would be less likely for that. There's 2 other comments I have here about that. First is, I have checked with a number of individuals, this to Mark's point. I've checked with Paul Engel, John Jones, Dave Morley, Bert Lawrence, all of whom have been members of the Peninsulaires for quite a long time, to see if they had any ideas or information or whatever. And the answer is not really. So we don't have a tremendous amount of stuff earlier than the mid 1970s, and that we do have up back to the 70s. That's the first thing. The second thing that ties to this is that Mike and Curtis and I were talking about, what if we were able, as the finale song for this event, to have something that is absolutely ridiculously spectacular. Okay. And so within the context of ridiculously spectacular, we sort of brainstormed about the possibility of a song that could be sung with the Peninsulaires and possibly other barbershoppers, right? Not necessarily Peninsulaires, and 1 or more women's choruses. I've talked to both Angela and Julie, and they're both interested in this possibility. So we have an 8-part song, and it's the kind of a song that we could maybe have orchestration to, so it's a really big deal. Okay. And we have between Dave Morley and I, we have connections at the Youth Symphony, and maybe something like that might be doable. But and we were thinking of a song that comes from a show like Men from La Mancha, like The Impossible Dream, or something like that, as a song that is just an inspirational tune that would be absolutely ridiculously over the top, with that many people, 100 or more singers, and an orchestrated thing. And that's an idea we have been kicking around and have made a few overtures for relative to singers, not to any orchestral thing, because we haven't totally decided that this is workable. But I wanted to put that out to the group as well. Curtis, any thoughts on that?
It sounds like everything that we've discussed so far.
Okay. Mark?
I think that it would be great if we could be in a venue with really good sound and with a projection screen above our heads behind us that could be used for the decades, but also for old photos, maybe some kind of photo montage, maybe even a video recording of the Peninsulaires in the 70s at International, if it still exists and if it sounds good enough. That's ambitious, but I feel like that would add a layer of pop to it compared to what we usually do in a smaller venue.
So the facilities like that are available, so I'm sure we could figure it out.
I think that was, that was definitely part of the discussion, was a nicer facility.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike and I toured this real nice facility in September.
Well, then there's no reason it couldn't be something like that, you know?
Yeah, no, and that, but a nice facility that seats, what, 300 plus maybe would be nice.
If we did this, it would be in lieu of our traditional cabaret, which means it's not a food thing, right? It's a mega performance. Would there be 2 shows or 1 show? We haven't got that far yet.
Yeah, I would want to, I would want more discussion on adding instruments, because that's just so different from what we do.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that was the idea. It's way different. 1 song.
Yeah.
1 song.
Yeah. I have a question about the other songs. Would the intent be for those songs to kind of be rotated into our repertoire, for the sort of usual amount of time, which, is often, let's say, 2 shows? Or are we thinking of it more as a one-off, like for the like not the special 100?
Mike and I have been trying to look at things so far that we could again continue to use for at least 2 shows, so that we're rotating. But that doesn't mean that there wouldn't be one-off material in this kind of performance.
I like the idea of rotating "Wonderful Day" back in. By the way, I think that's a great song.
Yeah,
depending on which version we use. With intro, without intro. I got them all written down. I know which. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but who's going to pay the bill?
Oh, so that's what I can tell you about the concept for 2023. And I think at this point, for the 75th anniversary show, at this point, the question is whether we meaning the music team, Curtis, Mike, myself, and the other members of the music team who are going to be involved in this, though they don't really know it yet. Do we have a green light to pursue this potential aggressive opportunity in the manner that I have described, or do we or not?
I would like us to. I think it'd be a great idea. And November being our anniversary month makes could add a little more nuance to what our plan could be. I mean, I think our date's like November, I can't remember now. November 23rd. Gotta look at the website, it's on there.
Yeah, November 23rd in 2023 is Thanksgiving.
Okay, so we won't do the show on that date.
I think
so we're talking about 2 events in the fall, right?
Dana, go ahead.
2 events.
I'm sorry,
this
Dana.
extravaganza show, and then a fall.
No, that's it. No. The 75th is it. That's
it, and our fall but we're gonna go to competition as well.
Oh, go to district
District.
convention in October, yes. We would
Okay.
go to-
District in October, and then our
Mhm.
show in November.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we could promote it heavily during the district convention.
True.
so
Well-
does that mean that we're going to pull back from holiday stuff, or when are we going to get in the rehearsal for those?
That doesn't necessarily mean we're gonna pull back from holiday stuff. We were talking about songs for the holidays, as well, and looking at the fact that there's, things that we might want to incorporate, but,
Dave, didn't we, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to go on a left turn, but didn't we discuss possibly doing the show in September?
I think maybe we did. We talked about doing it early, yeah. And then giving ourselves time
More
after,
time for October.
after October show to prepare for the holidays. Curtis is right. I apologize for, my mind went for whatever reason back to the historical date of our fall show in November. But if we did it earlier, like 3 weeks before district convention, we would make sure that those songs, our competition songs, were in the show,
Mhm.
obviously, and then whatever.
And that gives us time to get into the holiday music early as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, which Mike, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it was Mike that asked that question. And so it was, and which triggered the thought in Curtis's mind to bring it back to what we had talked about before. So this was a good comment. Thank you.
That's good for a few reasons. It's bad from the perspective of people that take summer vacations and the attendance is light in the summer. And that would be our last months leading up to a show if it's really in September. So that's my only concern about that time.
Yeah, it would need to be like right at the end. Labor Day is the 25th, Monday the 25th. So we have Saturday the 30th, or October 7th, which is a week before convention.
Labor Day is early in
first Monday
September.
in
First Monday.
First Monday.
Labor Day's first.
Oh,
Monday.
Labor Day is the first Monday. That's right. Memorial Day is the last.
Memorial Day is what
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about.
Sorry. So yeah, so if we did something at the end of September, 23rd or 30th, it might not be as bad, because everybody's back in school by
Wanted to
mid-August.
comment, Dave, about the music. So I like the idea of including songs from older generations, and that gives a good theme to the show, and it may also attract back guys that were in the Peninsulaires 10 or 20 years ago, if they're still around. I will say that they're more likely to be around in the more recent decades. So rather than saying, let's have an even amount of song, like one song from every decade or something, I would say kind of ramp it a little bit toward the more recent.
Sure.
Stuff in the last 20 years is going to be more more guys will remember having sung it and will maybe know it already. So we can kind of emphasize that and think of it as sort of an exponential decay.
And we can use maybe a recording or a video from way in the past, if there are such things back in, and that's a good point, Mark. And I think that's very reasonable. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, each decade thing. It was just a concept. Harry.
But even the songs we sing now, there's some of those that were from the 60s or 50s even. So, I think that people who have been in the choir, even in recent decades, some of the songs we sing are representative of previous decades.
Well, they would know the songs, but the question is, did the Peninsulaires sing those songs back then?
I mean, songs that we sing, and I'm thinking of are songs that we've learned. Some of those are songs that were written,
that were written, right? But right, understood.
But you're saying that that people actually sang.
We were thinking of songs that the Peninsulaires had performed as a chorus in previous decades.
Yeah.
But I think Mark's point is really reasonable. Let's not go too far back in time, because you would have to you know, do a Lazarus thing for certain people and see if they could come back from
Yeah.
to sing with us.
So where do we stand on decision?
I think you
how
have
to move
general
ahead?
approval
It's,
from us
yeah,
Dave, to go with that plan.
it sounds like that we have a green light to move forward. So then the next step on this side of the conversation is to get together with Mike and Curtis and others on the music team and start to flush out the plan.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Well, that's all the COVID protocols. Elliot.
Yeah, so you know, basically I'm feeling more and more awkward about asking people for proof of vaccine. The question is whether we think we should still be doing that or not. Do we want to change the COVID protocol?
So Vocal Capital did a performance at a senior residence community about 2 months ago. And when we arrived, we had to go through a checklist. Have you do this, do this, do this, do this? And they did a temperature thing, and you put the temperature on the top of it, blah, blah, blah. And then you could go in and be with everybody. That's the only thing of its nature that I have seen recently. We've been to several live performances, theater performances. Up in San Francisco, didn't ask, they didn't check. In San Jose, they did check because San Jose still has something. So it's kind of like it's everywhere. It's all it's from the spectrum of whether you got to even do it or not. So I don't know that there's a standard answer that the way that it's done. I think we have to figure out what works for us. And Harry, I'm sure you have a perspective on that.
Well, yeah, and I think Dave, you're perfectly right. It's really what we want to do. I think we're kind of past where there are a lot of mandates of what we must do. All I can say is that the fact of the matter is, I just read in the Mercury News like this morning that the rate of infection this month is 80% higher in the Bay Area than it was last month. And the virus, although it's become less virulent, has become much more transmissible, it seems like, because I think everybody knows people who have had it, and it's only a small minority of people now that haven't had it already. So, and we know that the vaccines, if they don't prevent all the infections, at least they mitigate it. So I'm thinking of what we want to do to protect ourselves, actually, is what I'm thinking of, when we're on the risers and guests are coming, and, what do we want to do as a group so that we feel like we're being reasonable and not, not draconian, but what are reasonable precautions to take?
Harry, can I ask?
I know that the people I'm singing with and the people that are coming in, have been vaccinated to some degree at least, so that's kind of how I feel about it. I think some of the other things like taking temperatures, and I don't know how effective that is. That's kind of from the past.
Mike Oliver.
Yeah, so I was wondering, can I ask for factual, if how effective is the vaccine currently believed to be at preventing people from spreading the infection? Because that's a separate question from both whether you get infected and whether you get severe disease, and it's probably less studied, but if you know anything about it, that would be useful.
No, I would say that if you, like I did last week, if you get a COVID virus that evades the vaccine, I think if you're infected, you're contagious, So it's really related to how effective is the vaccine at preventing infection.
And that seems to be fairly low at the current time.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the number is, but
And comparing to status quo, we're currently not expecting people to be boosted. So all we're looking for is
at least it's a minimal amount. Yeah, somebody's had something.
So
Yeah.
if I can throw out just a thought, I would my thought would be that we continue to make it a requirement, but we stop asking for proof.
Yeah.
Honor
Maybe
system,
that, yeah.
right?
Yes.
Just trust people, and maybe that would make it logistically easier. Just to be.
I mean, I have a little bit of
system.
mixed feelings because, you know, when it took Barbara a while to get over it, and we were worried that she had gotten long COVID. Doesn't seem so now. But it, you know, don't want to take another chance. But I do feel like the actually checking people's cards, I can understand why that feels awkward.
Yeah.
And we're talking
reasonable compromise.
And we're talking mostly guests, right, Elliot? Because I mean, you're not checking members anymore.
Well, you know, I mean, technically, I do have it listed on my sheet. And, you know, when Mark Tabry came back, for example, I did ask him for proof of vaccine.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, I've been doing it less religiously, shall we say.
I have two comments that I just was looking for research on this. I know it's been floating around. There's a study of transmission in a prison population, which is kind of like us, I guess.
Hey there, boyfriend.
And it said that the vaccine, at least one dose per, made it 24% less likely that you transmit it to someone else if you get it. So that's a small benefit, but it is a benefit. It does help with prevention. I feel like I would rather say us emphasize, don't come if you're sick. Don't come to rehearsal if you have symptoms of a flu or a cold or COVID, and risk transmitting it to other people. Maybe that's common sense, but I think that's more likely to have a useful effect of preventing transmission in the chorus than what we do about vaccines.
Yeah, my understanding that you can be contagious about from 48 hours before you become symptomatic. I know I got it after being on an airplane for 16 hours and breathing the recirculated air. And of course, I've had all my vaccines and the bivalent ones, and came back tested negative, but then got it and gave it to my wife, who also has had all her vaccines and been and the bivalent one. So I don't know. I mean, I was able to transmit it very easily to my wife in spite of all that. That's just a one data point, but you know, I think it'd be reasonable to ask people about it, maybe, and I agree, maybe not require proof, because that may just be it makes it logistically more complicated, and people might regard that as an imposition.
How would you word it on, for example, the meetup site? Like currently, I actually have a link to the COVID policy, and I do warn people one-on-one, you know, please come prepared with
well, I guess it would just be something like that. State what the requirement for the vaccine is, but not say you'll be required to show proof of vaccination.
Paul,
You're on
You're
mute,
muted.
Paul.
It's getting a little late here, but maybe is it possible to have Harry and Elliot come up with, like we did in the past, the proposal, and we can talk about that?
Yeah, I think it would just be tweaking what we have.
So I think what I'm hearing is that we are kind of thinking that it does make sense to have a statement about a policy, but we are not going to demand proof of adherence to what our policy is. And I think it makes sense to incorporate in the messaging along what somebody said, was either Mark or Harry, that if you're not feeling well, don't come because, please, it's in everybody's best interest. So, so something like that.
Can add to that, if you're not feeling well, or if you've been in a high risk situation in the past 5 days, like an airplane or a crowded indoor restaurant or something like that, maybe, I don't know.
I know I've seen signs on some places, they mention those things. If you feel sick, if you've been exposed to anyone who's had COVID, or if you've had a recent international travel, is often mentioned.
Yeah.
No, I feel like if people can't go to a restaurant 5 days before they come to rehearsal, we're going to start.
Well, no, I mean, that's easy to handle. I think you can say if you think there's reasonable possibility that you may have been infected, then
exposed,
but are not suffering any symptoms, test.
Yeah.
If you know you've been exposed to someone who has COVID or is tested positive, maybe recent international travel. I'm not talking about restaurants, international travel, or if you're having any symptoms.
Yeah, the tests also seem to be of fairly limited value for asymptomatic people at the current time.
So you're suggesting we don't ask people?
No, we're not asking people to be tested.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that people shouldn't test. I'm just saying we shouldn't rely on that too much, because there are a lot of false negatives for asymptomatic people.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing that we want to have Harry and
someone who tests.
Elliot put together a new proposal.
Yeah.
New statement. So why don't we go with that?
Okay.
And can this also allow Elliot to ease up on his efforts at the door on Thursdays?
It should.
I think we should.
Yeah.
So how about I stop? If people agree, I will stop asking people for proof and stop saying or telling people one-on-one, come with proof. And once Harry and I have come up with a new policy and get it approved by the board, we'll publish it.
Elliot, are you still comfortable asking them the question without asking proof?
Not entirely.
I don't know if we had a sign or a handout or something. These are our rules. Somebody who's new, maybe handle it that way.
We have different kinds of opportunities for people to come. We have whoever sees us on Meetup, and I think clearly stating on Meetup. We have our website when people find us, and it should be clearly stated there. We have people who come because for whatever reason, they heard about us, or we don't know they're going to be there until they show up, and we have no clue. So some kind of placard would make sense to say this is our COVID protocol thing. I know that when you go to the dentist, they have something you said. If you had this, and this, okay.
Right.
So something like that seems to be reasonable. It covers all eventualities. Somebody that we know or that has been invited through one of our mechanisms, or someone who just shows up.
Right.
Actually, a guest welcome sheet, maybe have like a little statement at the bottom.
Yeah, I think it should be a separately stated thing that you got on one of those,
Make a poster.
Placard for me to carry out.
No,
you get Harry Morrill do it because you're never there early.
It's like 8.5 by 11 sheet, in one of those acrylic things. It sits there. It says COVID protocol, blah 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 blah.
Right at the door.
4 bullet points.
I think also we have to be realistic about the fact that a lot of people don't even read those things anymore, right?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Covers us.
It covers us if we have it there.
Yeah. Okay, I think we've discussed this enough. Let's move on. Curtis, do you have any director comments you'd like?
Nothing other than where we've what we covered so far about spring contest and the 75th show. So I'm pretty well covered in all of that.
Thank you, Curtis. Good of the order. Dave, poker hook.
I'm looking forward to seeing to having our holiday performances. I mean, Vocal Capital has had a chance to do 2 so far this week. Holiday performance. It was wonderful. People loved, they were singing along with the songs and stuff like that, and had a really good time. It's the season for it. It makes people happy, and hopefully that all of our events will be able to be held, because it's just such an uplifting kind of an experience. We'll see. I'm anticipating hearing from Peter Anderson sometime in the next hour whether or not Morgan Hill will happen. As far as I know, everything's a green light for Mountain View, because the stage area does have a canopy, and then hopefully it won't be raining a week from today when we go to Palo Alto Farmers Market. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Dave. Paul.
Well, this has been quite a meeting. I'm running out of paper here. Well, things are going well. We didn't have too many people Thursday, but it's fun. The songs we're doing for Mountain View are fun, and I look forward to it. I always like the Mountain View lighting.
Thanks, Paul. Harry.
I know I've disappeared for a while and went on a couple of trips that were just fantastic, and I had a wonderful time, but unfortunately it also came at a bad time as far as choir activities go, so I missed some things. And then, as I said, I was down with COVID last week, so I couldn't really practice or come to rehearsals, but I'm fine now. I'm back, and I'll be there Thursday for rehearsal, and I'm raring to go.
Thank you, Harry. Mark.
I'm really enjoying preparing for the holiday performances. I wish that today wasn't going to get rained out, but looking at the weather, it looks likely to me that they ought to cancel it. It looks like serious moderate to heavy rain starting at 6 p.m. in Morgan Hill. I also want to apologize for proposing Silent Night as a VLQ song. I in hindsight, I think that it makes sense for us to shift to basically all secular music for the holidays, if we can. And I wasn't thinking about the exclusionary nature of recommending that song. So I want to apologize to anybody that felt uncomfortable about the fact that the chorus chose to sing that in a large group. And I thought we sang really well. So maybe I don't mean that song, but overall last Thursday night. So maybe whoever wasn't there, is just dragging us down. That's my theory.
Thanks, Mark. Mike O.
Yeah, great to be part of this group, as I always say. I think I always say that. I was looking also, I've pretty much written off Morgan Hill. Although of course if they tell me it's on, I'll go. But it doesn't look likely to me. But hopefully Mountain View and Palo Alto will still be good shows. And looking forward to the new year and all the exciting stuff going on.
Thanks, Mike. Elliot.
Yeah, I really like what we're doing with the holiday tunes. My sense is this year, I guess I've been doing this 5 years now. this year, I don't know, stands out to me that we've really been working on the craft for these tunes, and for things like Wonderful World, and Most Wonderful Time of the Year, and which other one? Yeah, Man with the Bag. I just think the areas that we've worked on are paying dividends, and they're just sounding really good to me. So I'm really happy about that.
Thanks, Elliot. Dave Morley.
Well, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting a cold, so I'm hoping that, I hate to say this, but I'm hoping that the Morgan Hill things get canceled. I should go even if it's on, because I'm starting to get a scratchy throat. But I am enjoying singing the holiday stuff, which I've done for years and years and years. Anyway, but I'm continuing to travel a lot, so I will be here as much as I can.
Thanks, Dave. Larry.
Always saving the best till last. Dave K, I missed your voice Friday night. Although we
Friday night?
Thursday night at rehearsal. What's happening again from the guy that gets to record and then review and edit videos every week? I see and hear things that happen from the beginning of rehearsal to the middle to the end. And each week, with the fantastic efforts of our co-directors, we get better. If we could just sing as well at the beginning as we do at the end, without our directors having to prompt every little action out of us, and kind of get into that consistency, we'd be happening. Part of my point, Dave, is I missed your voice, and without your voice, I don't think the leads had the confidence that they usually have when you are there. So that's from a technical and what I hear and see. We talk about the holiday songs every year, and we haven't introduced many new ones. Those we tried didn't work out, but the ones we are continuing to use and kicking the dust off of them, they're a blast. These are fun tunes, and people do enjoy them. I don't plan on going to Morgan Hill, whether it's raining, snowing, or whatever. It's just too far to drive for that event. But I'm looking forward to Mountain View and certainly Palo Alto, because Palo Alto, we have some quartets and BLQs. So yeah, it's a blast. I missed you guys for a couple of weeks on purpose. I needed a break, but I'm back, and watch out.
Thanks, Larry. We're glad you're back. Curtis, did you have anything else to say?
Yeah, sure. Gentlemen, as always, Thursday night is the highlight of my week, and all of these performances that we've done through this fall, I've been really proud of. I see, of course, we always see things that we want to continue to improve and do better, but I've been proud of the work that we've done. I've been proud of the performances that we do. I show these performances to my students at the school. They get super excited whenever they see these performances. So we're doing great work out there, gentlemen. And the fact that we have typically 30 plus, this past Thursday, I was a little shocked because I was up on the risers like, oh my gosh, where is everybody? And then I went, oh yeah, this person told me it was just an odd Thursday where a lot of people had mentioned they had other commitments on that week. But 30 plus, just amazing men and volunteers and singers to get together every Thursday night is the highlight of my week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Curtis. For my part, guys, I've really enjoyed this year tremendously. The enthusiasm level, the quality of singing, the coaching, all of it has just warmed my heart and given me a reason to get up in the morning and practice and then come into rehearsal. I also really appreciate serving as your board president the last 2 years. Be handing this off to Harry in January. thank you guys for supporting me and loving me through this whole period. All right. And with that, I call this meeting adjourned.
So long, guys. I'll let
Thanks,
you know
everybody.
as soon as I hear about Morgan Hill.
Yep.